Okay, so this is notes topic 3, day 9. And we're going to do domain and range, which we've already covered. And then we're going to add to it the vertical line test. Shh. Okay, so first thing I want you to do is somewhere near the top of your notes, because you don't have that much space on yours, we're going to write out what the vertical line test is. So vertical line test says if a vertical line crosses the graph 2 or more times. So if a vertical line crosses the graph 2 or more times, it is not a function. So whereas normally we would look at data points to see what x is paired with, some graphs you don't have all the points. So you have to look at the graph itself and figure out if it's a function or not. And we're also going to practice domain and range. Okay, so looking at this one, that written out. I'm going to do domain in red and range in blue. All right. So your domain on a graph like this one is there's 5 individual points and no lines in between, which means you have up to 5 x values that are in your domain. So using your roster notation, x is an element of the set containing, and let's see, I've got a -3 for an x, a -2. I have a 1 that happens twice, but I don't list it twice. And then over here on this one, I have a 4. So the domain is really just those 4 numbers. 1 for each of the x values of the points. Okay, range. Your range is your y values. And again, we have 4 or 5 separate points. So y is an element of the set containing. We're going to list the y's. So I have a -4 for this one, a 5 for that one, a 3, got a -2, and then the y value for this side point is 0. So that is your domain and range. Okay, so let's talk about, is it a function or not? So the rule says if you can draw a line through any 2 places or more on the graph, it's not a function. So I'm going to use my ruler just to show. If I drew a line through this point, it only touches 1 point. 1 point. Here's where we have a problem. If I draw a vertical line right there, it's going to cross once there and once there. So it crosses 2 times. So the answer to is it a function or not is no, it is not a function. That's the vertical line test. Okay, let's go on to number 2 on your sheet. All right, this is number 2. So we're going to start with the domain. Okay, so start with your lowest x value and go up to your highest. So my lowest x value is right here, which is a -3. And then I have x values top and bottom until I get to here, and then the x values stop at a +3. So your x's are between -3 and +3, which means your x goes in the middle, and you're going to have a less than or equal to 3 and a greater than or equal to -3. If your domain or range has 2 endpoints, there should be 2 values in the expression. All right, let's do the range. So my lowest y value is right there. It's at a -4. And then I've got graph on either side, up, 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 up. My last y value is up here at a 3. So my y's are between 3 and -4. So the y goes in the middle, less than or equal to 3, greater than or equal to -4. Again, it had a low value and a high value and everything in between. All right, now we're going to decide if it's a function. So you can tell that if you put any vertical line through this shape, it's going to cross more than once. Missing is okay, but if any line crosses 2 or more times, it's not a function. So I can draw a line, a vertical line right here, and it crosses once there and once there. So this is not a function. All right, let's look at number 3. And we might not make it through all of these, and that's okay. Okay, number 3, we're going to start with domain. So start with your lowest x. So my lowest x is actually right here at -4, but it's what we call an open point, which means it's actually not equal to -4, but it does get infinitely close to it. So mark it as a circle, and then our x values go to the right, and then they have this point here, but there's no break or gap, so we can disregard that point and that point. And then we end with an arrowhead. So one endpoint and an arrowhead means we're going to have x on the left greater than but not equal to -4. And it gets no bar because the -4 itself is not an x value. All right, let's do the range. Okay, my lowest y value is actually right here at a 1. That's as low as it gets. And then it goes up, and it ends on the left, but on the right, it keeps going. So this arrow overlaps that, and we have no breaks or gaps in our y values, and they just keep on going up forever and ever. So the y values go from 1 up. So y is greater than or equal to 1. All right, now the question, is it a function or not? So if you draw a vertical line, it crosses once. There's no place I can draw a vertical line that it's going to cross more than once. So yes, this is a function. And again, you could draw your vertical line anywhere and it would only cross one time. Okay, flip to the next graph, or not yours is on one page. Okay, let's do this one. We're going to do the domain. And if you could do that pentagon, I bet you could do this one pretty easily. So your lowest x value is right here at -2. And then we've got graph, and the last x value is here at +2. So the x's are in between -2 and +2. So x goes in the middle, less than equal to 2, greater than equal to -2. All right, let's do the range. The lowest y value is right here at 0. And then I have graph on both sides. My last y value is at the 4. So my range is between 0 and 4. So for range, the y goes in the middle, less than equal to 4, greater than equal to 0. Okay, and is it a function? You're right, it is not a function. If I draw a vertical line through the circle, it crosses once, twice, 2 times, so no, not a function. Okay, number 5 is so easy, it sometimes confuses people because there's just not a lot to the graph. So this type of graph works for any slanted line. All right, so for the domain, the x values, I have an arrowhead, right? This keeps going. So I have an arrowhead, and then I have x values, and then another arrowhead. So it's everything which is all real numbers, or x is an element of the reals. Both of those things mean the same thing. You get to choose what notation you use. All right, now we're going to do the range. Jorge, let's go. Now your name's on a video that's going to be posted. Congratulations. Okay, so range. This goes down, down, down. There is an arrowhead. And then it goes up, and it just keeps on going. So in the y direction, it also goes up and down infinitely. So y is all real numbers. Same answer. Now, is it a function or not? Well, you can tell. I can draw a vertical line anywhere on this line, and it's only ever going to cross one time. It's never going to cross twice. So yes, it's a function. All right, let's look at 6. Okay, 6. The domain. All right, so the domain, you have x values that go infinitely left because of the arrow, x values that go infinitely right. There's no breaks or gaps, so all real numbers. Okay, now the range. Range is the y values. So your lowest y value is at -5. And then the y values go from -5 and then they go on up. And then both sides have arrows. So the y values just keep going. So it goes from -5 on up. So y is greater than or equal to -5. If it only has one endpoint, it should have only one arrowhead. All right, now the vertical line test to see if it's a function. If I draw a vertical line through this graph, it's only ever going to cross once. So yes, this is a function. There's nowhere you can draw a vertical line that it's going to cross more than once. All right, number 7, last row here. Sideways looking parabola. So here we go, domain. My x values start at 0, and then I've got top and bottom x values going to the right with an arrowhead. So the domain is x is greater than or equal to 0. It only has one endpoint. All right, range, y values. Okay, so on the bottom we have an arrowhead. Then we've got y values, y values, y values, y values, and another arrowhead. So no breaks, no gaps, all real numbers. All right, function test. If I take my ruler and I draw a vertical line, it will definitely cross once and twice. So this is not a function. And it depends on your worksheet how they ask it. If they say, is it a function, you can say yes or no. If they say describe whether it is a function, then you have to say yes, it's a function, or no, it's not a function. You got to be a little bit more specific. Okay, number 8. Kind of a weird one. Okay, domain. Your x values go to -infinity on the left. And then, yes, we switch lines, but there's actually no break in the x's. These two overlap each other, and it just keeps going. So x goes both directions. So all real numbers. Now, y's are a bit more tricky. The lowest y value I have is right here at a 1. And then there's a big gap. And the next y value up is here, which is at a 3. So we only have 2 y values. This whole line is 1. That whole line is 3. So when we do the range, when you only have 2 values, you need to use roster notation. So y is an element of the set containing 1 and 3. Close the set. Horizontal lines are like that. All right, is it a function? You would think yes, because it's crossing once, crossing once, crossing once. But if you put your line right through those points, right there, once, twice, not a function. All right, last one, and then we're done with notes today. Number 9. Here we go, domain. Okay, so my x values, there's an arrow on the left, it goes left, and then I have a hole. See that? There's a hole at -3. So there's a gap right there. And then the x values go to the right, and then they have an open endpoint. So there's actually 2 pieces to this with a gap in it. There's a left piece with a gap, and then a right piece that has 2 endpoints. So we're going to need a union symbol. So let's do the left piece. It's -3 down. So x is less than, but not equal to, -3, so no bar, in union with, And then my next piece is bounded by -3 and 2. So the x goes in the middle, less than 2, it's an open point, so no bar, greater than -3, no bar. So it looks like the -3's are mentioned twice, but remember, if there's no bar under the inequality, the -3 itself is not an answer. And that's where you get this gap right here. That's a big gap. Okay, let's do the range. Okay, so my lowest y value is here, which is a -2. That one's open, but this one isn't, so it overlaps it. So we have y values, and then we go up, up, up. Now on the right, it stops, but on the left, the y values keep going, so that overlaps the right piece, and my y values keep going without a gap in them. So from -2 up, y is greater than or equal to -2. Last question, is it a function or not? Vertical line test. So here I cross once, here I cross none. 1, 1, 1, none. So it's a function. All right, I hope that helps. Use these on your worksheet to help you get the domain and the range figured out.